Well, we are on our last 3 days of our Inktober Tangle challenge. I'm so excited to share with you 3 more beautiful tangles that I think you're going to really love. Of course, one of them is one of the very first ones I ever learned, poke root, that we're going to do a little bit of a fun thing with today. So get your pens and pencils out and let's start with day 29. The tangle is called Oasis by Tomás Padros, CZT. This is a beautiful ribbon tangle that's great for borders and frames. And I'm going to put it here. And as you can see, I've already penciled in my sketch for it just because this is such a funky place. So yeah, don't frustrate yourself and ruin your piece at this point. I decided, with all the little mistakes I've been making lately, that I would go ahead and give myself that, and then I will show you how to do it the easy way in just a band form. So here we go. We will just start by penciling in 2 parallel lines that are going to be our guide for this ribbon tangle. And strangely enough, it just so reminds me of the ribbon candy that you get at Christmas time. And I wouldn't mind doing a fun little project with it that indicates that. So look for that in the future. Anyway, so I'm going to start like this in the middle and then build around from there. You're going to make like a little jug almost, teardrop, I guess. But it's very important here to leave this little bit of a flare open. That's what tripped me up when I was first learning it. Now, you can either turn your paper and do the same thing on either side of this, or you can try to just mimic that shape. I'm going to turn it just because I'm... Take your time. So you'd continue doing this throughout. Here, we can try this one without turning our page. Yeah, not bad. We're going to connect these like that. So from the top over to that little point, that little flared out edge. And then the bottom, the same thing. And now we want to put some aura lines in here. On either side of those teardrops. There are so many variations that he shows on his step out, but I'm not going to cover here. One is, of course, one of them is this little zigzag. You do it the same way, but you use a zigzag at the top instead of a straight line over. And then, of course, then there's the little alien nest and the Emma ball, and then there's a floral pattern, a flower that's really pretty. And I know you probably thought I would do the flower, but nope, I'm just loving this ribbon pattern for our Huggins. So this you can either fill in solid. I always like to start out with hatched lines first because then I can see if I like that, and if I don't, I can always fill it in solid black, right? And then for my shading, this is how I would shade it. We have these bowed areas, right? I would just put some shading right down the middle. Blend that out. And then with my charcoal or white colored pencil, I'm going to find my charcoal on this one, I would put some highlights up here and even down here, because that is where there's this bow. It's meeting the light. And if you left these, this could use a little more. If you left these as lines, I would definitely go in there and shade that to indicate that this is negative space. That's kind of like, you can kind of see through this ribbon. So do you see how this ribbon is really coming together now? I love it. Pretty easy too. Definitely an easy one to add to your repertoire. So let's go put it in my crazy hugging space, which is a little bit challenging. So like I said, I already penciled it in. Let's see, now I gotta find it. Okay, and as always, we're going to start with our PN. I'm using black, and I'm going to pencil in, ink in this Crazy Huggins. And I put my circle way far up and over so that we have this stretched out Crazy Huggins. And then connect that. Actually, it should have connected here, but that's okay. We can just do some line work there. And then this one's already pretty much inked out, so we're going to give it a top. And what you see going on here is I'm going to be auraing everything at the end. And so we'll do that later. But then we do want to put our aura lines in. So I guess that was correct. Looks like an opportunity for a gold aura line. I have to make a mistake every day, right? So I'm going to start from the middle. Just erase some of that. So dark. And I am going to use my 01 pen for this. And like I said, I start from the middle and I do that teardrop shape. This one I'm going to just extend, try to figure it out with my shape that's going on here, right? So then we're going to go the opposite direction. And again, the opposite direction for this. Here we have opposite direction. The flare has to be down here. And then up here. That one got a little fat. And then I think that's enough. Let me just clean this up and then you can see more easily. So the next step is putting in our aura lines. And then we want to kind of join those. So here's the flare going right over here. This is kind of a moot point because we've already pretty much joined them with our aura line here. But now I'm going to look at this and decide, okay, I don't want this to be too black, so I am going to just use line work. However you put them in is up to you. I like doing this close knit. Guess there's going to be a change of direction since I switched my paper. Kind of looks like a snake's skin to me, or lizard. I had a leopard gecko for 8 years and absolutely loved my little guy. So sad when he died. I am going to try to find my shading with that same concept though here. See how that's bowing up to the light? This too with a little bit less of a bow, but it would be in light. So that's where, get rid of this line so that it doesn't interfere. Okay, there we have the shading, and now I'm going to blend. And of course, I'm going to shade in here as well. I'm going to do just pretty much one side. It looks pretty cool. And now we're going to add that white. Got my colored pencil here. You see how that looks like the ribbon is undulating. Guess you would do it here as well. Can't forget that's still part of it, right? And there we have day 29, Oasis. Really fun tangle. Now we're going to go to day 30, which is a really cool kind of Celtic knot type tangle. It's, in my opinion, kind of an easy way to do a triquarta, which is a Celtic knot. I have gone ahead and penciled in because this is getting really complicated. I'm going to show you just a single triangle, and as you can see here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles, and we'll build that together as well, but I want to just show you quickly how to do it. Let's do the triangle right here. We want the triangle to be as equilateral as you can make it. Same on all sides. And the rest, I would suggest you just can use a pencil until you get this down really well, because that way you can correct the thickness of your bands that are crossing over. So make a dot in the center, and we're going to make these little spokes. This one's going to come up at an angle. Try to follow this angle. This one's going to follow this angle, and this one obviously is following this angle. Once you get that, then you're going to make these lines. And they should be about the same thickness. So this one's too long. That's what I'm saying you can correct. I'd make my line up there so you can see that the spaces are approximately the same. And then we're going to make a little triangle up here on the top. And we're going to pretend there's a little triangle going on. Wait a second. This is why I penciled this in. And then we make another triangle here and another triangle here. So this does need to come down, this little line here. See? So what you have here is a triangle going on here in the background. And the shading is, you would just shade all the way around this triangle. And wherever you have these lines on either side, and this would be black, or you could just use your tight line work in there as well. And then you would shade that, blend that out, and put some highlights in there with your white. So basically, wherever there's lines, that's where you're going to have some shading. So do you see why I use pencil? So now I want to show you, this is my workup sample before going into my actual piece, but same thing. So you have your little spokes, and then you bring down those solid lines. And I have to look at my step out every time I do it. I've got it sitting here in front of me. So when we go on this, it's going to be, let's do it this way. Okay, so this is my triangle. I'm going to be brave and take my pencil or my pen. You can do this in any color you want. I've chosen to do it in black. So I'm just working within my space, trying to make as good of an equilateral triangle as I can. Here would be my dot. My first line, my spoke would go parallel to the bottom line. The second spoke would go parallel to this line. And the third one would go parallel to this line. Right? Then we're going to cap those off. This one's going to go this way. This one's going to go down. And this one's going to go up. So then we create these triangles that actually form like a small triangle in the background that we're going to fill in dark for our negative space to give the illusion that this is cut out. Okay, let's do another one just while we're at it, and then we'll do one shading and come back and show you the rest. Let's see, so this is going to be my center point, and my triangle is funky, right? It's curved here. That's okay. That's what's going to make it fun and unusual. So I'm not going to really curve the line. I guess I could try it, but it's probably going to work better if I don't curve that line. This one's going to go parallel to this line. And this one will go, I guess, would be a little curve, right? Because there's a bow right here. That's why I curved this one. We'll see what happens. I hadn't curved it in my sketch, but that's okay. Let's see what's going to happen. So now we're going to I'm going to have to correct, but the top is going to go over. This one's going to go down, and this one's going to go up. This got a little bit too far out, so we're just going to correct that with our triangle. See, we have that triangle on in the back. Now comes the fun part. Now we get to shade. So I'm going to turn this back around because this is how I am looking at this as bottom and top. And this is how I would shade. Just a little bit all the way on the outside, just like pillow shading. And some on each of these long lines. And let's draw that out, blend it out. And then with what's left on your tortillon, you can go in there in that center and put some shading around there as well. And this is a little dark for me, so I'm going to lift this with my kneaded eraser and reblend, as you know. And then we're going to get our white colored pencil or charcoal. The charcoal probably will blend easier for you. I'm using my colored pencil just because, as you know, I think it's a little less fleeting, but it's a little harder to blend. You have to kind of blend it while you apply it. I'm going to blend a little more here, black. So that really looks like those are weaving in and out of each other from the center. And that is how I would do Trixes. Trixes, I forgot to say, is a beautiful tangle by Tina Chen, CZT. We're coming to one of my favorite tangles of all time, and that's Poke Root, because obviously it's so organic. And if you take a look here, I have made a section here and a section here, and there's actually 32 places now instead of 31, because Poke Root is day 31 by Zentangle. So the reason I did that is I wanted to make sure I had a space where I could put my chop. But also I kind of just want to weave this all together, starting with Poke Root down here and ending with it up here. So it's kind of melding each of the parts together in a sense. So that's what I'm going to do. So first I am going to not forget to ink out my spaces. Let's start with this one down here. So here's my circle. I'm going to do a circle here. Join, apple core join. This one's already done. And then I want to make another apple core from here down to here. And that one too is already drawn in for us. And then we're going to cap this off and do our oar line. Again, I'm going to do this in my black pen, but we are going to add color. You'll see. It's going to be really fun. 01 Micron, and I'm just going to build my Poke Root organically. Starting, let's start from the corner. 2 parallel lines, a little frown, and I like to make mine nice and large because we're going to do another treatment to it. And I'm going to go from here, lots of overlap in this pattern. Do a short parallel line, and we're going to put another fruit cap on, thinking about where it would go behind, right? It would go down there. Just always think, draw behind. Whoops, that was a mistake. That should have been out here. See that? We're not going to see it in the very end. I'm just going to mark it so you see this is the stem. So we're going to have a highlight there anyway, so it'll work out just fine. Always seems to work out, my mistake. All right, then we're going to continue on. I'll just put a stem here, because what we do is in these negative spaces, we fill those in black. And I think I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. Let's pretend there's a stem coming up here, just so that we have a little bit of a break in the black space. We're going to pen out this set of Huggins. Here's my circle. Here's my corresponding circle. And then the other corresponding circle is down here. So we're going to connect that with our apple core shape. Really long line. We're going to join, we're going to top this one off. And then we're going to do our aura. All right, so now let's go for our poke root. And that'll become more clear once we get our negative space filled in. So one thing I did want to mention to you, what I often teach in this class when I'm teaching poke root, I like to make a little dot in those negative spaces where I know I'm going to fill in so that I don't mess up. So this is hard to read. This is the vine. So this would be where you would fill in. And that makes it easy when you just get to mindlessly coloring and then you go, oh, I just colored a space that I shouldn't have. So I'm going to fill that in and I will be back. Okay, so there we have our connecting. Let me pull this back. Our poke root connecting here. And what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to go ahead and pull them out. Just to give it a little bit more interest. And then the shading. Poke root is so wonderful to shade because it's a sphere, right? And you want it to look three-dimensional. There's a couple little things going on with the shading. And I'm going to keep it simple too first. I'm going to just do it in graphite. And I like to always add a little bit under the dimple or the little place where the stem would have been meeting the cherry or the fruit. Then if you have a look here, this one is on top of this one, so there'd be a little bit of a drop shadow there. I'm going to draw some down on the stem on the right hand side, always like this, keeping one side of the stem in light. So stems get a line down one side. It's amazing how far the graphite goes that's loaded on your tortillon. Now we're going to do a really fun thing. We're going to add with our jelly roll or our pentel, whichever one you have and are really liking. If you have an 08, it would be nice. They're a little smaller than the 10s. I'm just going to start drawing little spirals or printemps, covering the surface. And I'm not going to do it to every single one. We can pretend this like part of the ripening stage of our fruit. Some of them have it, some of them don't. They haven't gotten there yet. And this jelly roll is creating a texture. We're not done yet. We're going to do something really fun with it. Oh, let's do this one here. Every once in a while they start to skip my pens because we're going over the colored pencil, which is wax, right? It's resisting. But it's kind of good in that it gives us this thick and thin line in our white, which is lovely. It's just a little bit frustrating. Okay, I want to make sure that those dry really well, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. You could also put a hard highlight on the side. So that's the first one we did, and it should be dry first. I'm going to take my Indian red, because as always we want to incorporate some of the other colors in. And I'm just going to lightly go over the top, and you see how we're getting this really cool look of the resist of the jelly roll. And I just darken it on the sides where the shading was, right? Kind of following your shading. So now they're really ripening up, turning color. But you still want to save out that highlight. And if you need to go back in and bring it up a little bit, just get your white pen out, or pencil. Now I'm going to add some of my brown ochre on a few of these too, just because we want to bring those colors in. And sharper pencil, always better. And that's how I would shade our poke root for this project. So I'm going to go finish this, and I will be back to show you my finished piece and some of the things I'm going to do to finesse the finality of it. And that will probably be another tutorial maybe in November. So we did it, guys. I am proud of me for sticking this out. It was really, really hard at times. I just really didn't have the time to really put into this. And then with all of my technical challenges with our computer, our internet, my camera, I'm really happy that I stuck it out, because I learned so many new tangles, and you will be seeing them in different projects in the future. So once again, thanks for joining me. I hope to see you back at our regular Lunchtime Tangles soon. Bye for now.